Okay, ready to dive in. We're tackling Jonathan Haidt's The Anxious Generation today.
It's good.
We're focusing on chapters 8 through the end, really trying to pull out those nuggets of wisdom that parents, teachers, really anyone can actually put to use.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're all about, right? Actionable advice, not just theories.
Exactly.
And what I appreciate about Haidt is that he doesn't just point out the problems, he offers a way forward. He calls it a collective action problem,
Oh, interesting.
meaning it's not something we can fix on our own. It takes parents, schools, even tech companies all working together.
Makes you realize it's bigger than just, like, one family struggle, really.
Absolutely. It's systemic.
So in Chapter 8, he talks about this idea of spiritual degradation that's tied to our obsession with phones.
Mm.
And he's not just talking about religion here.
Right.
It's more about feeling disconnected from those things that give us a sense of meaning, purpose, feeling connected to something larger than ourselves.
It's like those moments of awe, you
Yeah.
know? When you're staring up at the stars, or that feeling of unity you get at a concert, or even a protest. Haidt argues that these spiritual practices are essential, but our digital habits are getting in the way.
We're just so plugged in constantly.
We are, and we're missing out on the things that truly elevate us.
It's like we're so bombarded with notifications and updates that we can't even hear our own thoughts, let alone that kind of inner voice telling us what truly matters.
It's that inner compass that
Exactly.
gets drowned out. But there's hope. Haidt believes we can turn things around. He compares it to, like an airplane being called back after takeoff.
Oh, I like that.
We've launched into this hyper-digital world, but we can still course correct.
So we're not doomed, basically.
Not at all. He believes the key is recognizing this as a collective challenge. It's not about blaming individuals, but about understanding the systems at play and working together to change course.
Okay, I like where this is going. So let's get specific. Starting with schools, what does a course correction look like in that setting?
Well, Haidt makes a strong case for phone-free schools. He sees phones in the classroom as a major obstacle to learning.
I see that.
They're not just distracting, they actually prevent students from engaging deeply with the material and with each other.
It's like, try learning calculus while someone's live streaming a video game next to you. Focus is impossible. But going phone-free, even just during class, seems like a huge challenge.
It is.
How would you even begin to implement that?
Well, it's a big shift, for sure. But it starts with changing our mindset.
Okay.
We need to create a school environment where genuine interaction and play are valued more than digital engagement.
So less screens, more what?
More recess, more collaborative projects, more hands-on learning.
Hands-on learning, that's a good one.
Yeah, bring back those tactile experiences.
Makes sense. And this ties into his emphasis on risky play, right?
It does. It's not about letting kids run wild, but allowing them to climb trees, build forts, engage in activities where they might get a scraped knee or two.
Yeah.
It's letting them learn from experience, not just from a screen.
That's so important.
It is. That kind of play, especially outdoors, builds resilience. It teaches them problem-solving, social skills, how to navigate the world around them.
It's like a counterbalance to that curated, risk-free digital world.
Exactly.
Okay, so schools need to ditch the phones and embrace the playground. What about parents? Where do we fit into this collective action plan?
Haidt uses this great metaphor, the gardener parent.
Gardener parent.
It's not about controlling every aspect of your child's life, but creating the right environment for them to thrive.
Okay, I like that.
Just like a gardener provides good soil, sunlight, and water, but doesn't dictate how the plant grows.
So we're talking about setting healthy boundaries around technology use, leading by example, modeling good digital habits ourselves.
All of that. It's about being mindful of the digital messages our kids are absorbing and offering them an alternative. Prioritizing real-world connections and experiences over passive screen time. Showing them that there's more to life than just the digital world.
That there's a whole world out there to explore.
Exactly. Back again with more from The Anxious Generation. Let's keep digging into those practical strategies, those things we can actually use to, help guide kids back on track.
Yeah, picking up where we left off, one thing that really stuck with me from the last part was Haidt's focus on shared sacredness. I mean, in our, increasingly digital world, it feels like those shared experiences, the things that kind of bind us together, are getting lost.
It's true. And hate argues that shared sacredness, those moments that connect us to something bigger than ourselves, they're essential.
Essential. Okay.
It could be anything, a religious service, a community festival, even just like watching a meteor shower together and feeling that sense of awe.
That sense of collective awe,
It
yeah.
fosters belonging. It gives us a sense of purpose.
But how do we create space for those experiences when everyone's so glued to their phones it feels like an uphill battle?
I hear you. It takes intentionality.
Okay.
It could be as simple as, having family meals without devices,
Oh, yeah.
attending local events,
Yeah.
organizing a tech-free hike with friends. The key is consciously choosing those moments of shared experience over, that constant pull of the digital world.
So it's about being proactive,
Yeah,
making it happen.
it is. Not just hoping it'll happen by chance.
Right, right. But what about those times when technology is unavoidable, like in school or at work? I mean, how do we manage that?
That's where Haight's ideas about boundaries and modeling good behavior become really crucial. Schools can designate phone-free zones, phone-free times,
Yeah.
and parents can set limits on screen time at home and, importantly, model those healthy tech habits themselves.
Lead by example, basically.
Exactly. Kids are much more likely to adopt healthy habits if they see the adults in their lives doing the same. Speaking of content, Haight really pulls no punches when it comes to social media,
Yeah,
especially the dangers for young people.
big topic.
It is. One of his biggest concerns is the way many platforms are designed. Yeah, the persuasive design. They're engineered to keep us hooked, scrolling, engaging,
Oh, right.
often at the expense of our mental well-being.
It's like they've figured out how to keep us constantly stimulated.
Yeah.
You get that little dopamine hit with every notification, and it's tough to log off.
It's a tough cycle to break.
So how do we protect kids from that? I mean, from these algorithms that are practically addictive?
Haight suggests a few things. First, delay access to social media as long as possible.
So waiting.
Give young brains time to develop before exposing them to those potent digital forces.
It's like shielding them from a supersized soda until their systems can handle it. I like that analogy.
It makes sense, right? He also advocates for stricter regulations on these companies, requiring them to prioritize user well-being over engagement metrics. It's not about banning social media entirely.
Right.
It's about making it safer, less exploitative, especially for younger users.
So we need to hold these companies accountable, make sure their design choices are putting people first, not just profits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not just about restrictions. It's also about empowering kids,
Okay.
giving them the skills they need to navigate these platforms safely and responsibly,
What I mean.
teaching them media literacy, critical thinking skills, so they can recognize manipulative design, manage their time online, protect their mental health.
So it's like giving them a map and compass
Yeah.
for this digital landscape.
Makes sense.
Another thing that stood out to me in Haight's book was his focus on free play,
Oh, yeah.
especially the kind that involves some element of risk, like climbing trees, building forts, stuff like that.
That's a crucial point. It often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
But Haight argues that free play, particularly when it involves some level of risk, it's essential for development. It builds resilience, creativity, social skills.
Makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, letting kids explore their limits, experiment a bit, maybe get a few scrapes and bruises along the way. It teaches them problem solving, risk management, builds confidence.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. No fancy gadgets or structured activities.
Right.
Just giving kids space and freedom to create their own adventures.
So less bubble wrap, more freedom to stumble and learn.
Exactly. But what about the digital world? I mean, how does this idea of free play translate there? I think it's about finding that balance, between protecting them and empowering them. Instead of micromanaging their every click and swipe, we can encourage them to explore, to be creative, to connect with others in meaningful ways.
So it's about guidance, but also trust.
It is, trusting them to navigate that world with a sense of agency and responsibility. Haight also encourages us to link up with others who share these concerns.
Link up. What does he mean by that?
It's about realizing we're not alone in this.
Yeah.
There are so many parents, educators, people who are worried about the direction childhood is headed in this digital age.
Yeah.
We need to connect. We need to work together.
So it's about finding strength in numbers. Instead of feeling overwhelmed and isolated, we can tap into this collective energy and push for change.
Exactly. By connecting, sharing information, coordinating efforts, we amplify our impact. It's like, a flock of birds flying in formation.
Oh, yeah.
Each bird contributes, but together they create something much greater.
I love that analogy. So how do we actually link up? Where do we find these like-minded folks?
It's easier than you might think. Local parent groups, community organizations, online forums, advocacy networks, even just talking to friends, family, neighbors.
Starting the conversation.
Exactly, building those bridges. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't need all the answers. It's about learning, experimenting, supporting each other as we figure this all out.
Yeah, because raising kids in the digital age, it's definitely a journey.
It is, and we're all in it together.
Back for the final part of our deep dive into the anxious generation. We've talked about the challenges, brainstormed solutions. Now let's get practical. How can we actually put these ideas into action? Especially as parents trying to figure out this whole digital world thing with our kids.
And this is where Haight's Gardner approach is so helpful. He gets that there's no one-size-fits-all parenting manual, but he does offer some tailored advice for different ages and stages.
Okay, so break it down for us. Let's start with the littlest ones, those 0 to 5-year-olds. What does gardening look like for that age group?
Well, for the youngest kids, it's about creating an environment that's rich in real-world experiences. Lots of love, good nutrition, plenty of free play, and minimal screen time.
Basically, let them be little kids, exploring the world through their senses, not through a screen.
Exactly. Hands-on learning.
But let's be real. It's pretty much impossible to avoid screens completely these days. I mean, they're everywhere.
True, but we can be mindful. It's about quality over quantity. So instead of using screens as a babysitter, we can choose content that's educational, limit the time, and engage with our kids during screen time.
Have it a shared experience.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense. What about elementary and middle school? Things get a bit trickier then, right?
They do. As kids get older and start school, they're exposed to all sorts of influences, online and offline. Haight talks about being aware of those influences and actively shaping what he calls the learning models in their lives.
So paying attention to who they're hanging out with, what they're watching, what games they're playing, all those things that shape their worldview.
Right, all the inputs. And it's about setting clear boundaries around tech use, maybe using parental controls, limiting screen time, creating device-free zones.
Setting those digital guardrails.
Exactly, to help them navigate safely.
But what about teenagers? I mean, that's when things get really complicated. They want their independence. Technology is a huge part of their social lives. How do we even begin to manage that?
Yeah, it's a different ballgame with teenagers. They're trying to figure out who they are, where they fit in, and technology plays a big role in that. But they still need us, even if they don't always admit it.
So how do we find that balance? Giving them freedom, but also keeping them safe. It feels like the Wild West out there sometimes.
It does, and that's why Haight suggests shifting from control to empowerment. Instead of trying to track their every move, we can focus on equipping them with the tools they need to make good choices on their own.
So having those open, honest conversations about online safety, about digital citizenship, about all the potential pitfalls.
Exactly, and also encouraging them to use technology in positive ways. To connect with friends, to explore their passions, to maybe even make a difference in the world.
To use it as a force for good.
Right.
But looking beyond the digital world for a moment, what other advice does Haight have for raising teenagers?
He's a big believer in giving teens real-world responsibilities.
Okay.
At home, in the community, chores, part-time jobs, volunteering, mentoring younger kids.
So helping them develop a sense of purpose, competence, connection, but in the real world.
Exactly. And also providing them with opportunities to experience nature. Haight's a big advocate for getting kids outside, exploring, connecting with something larger than themselves.
Reminding them there's a whole world out there beyond the screen.
A world full of beauty, adventure, real-life connection.
That's so important. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the anxious generation, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners leave with?
I think for me, it's the importance of hope and agency. Yes, the challenges are real, but we're not powerless. We have the power to make changes, both in our own families and in the world around us.
It's about remembering that we're not just along for the ride in this digital age. We have a say in how this story unfolds.
We do. And by working together, we can create a better future for our kids.
A future where childhood is a little less anxious and a lot more balanced. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the anxious generation. We hope you found it insightful, and we encourage you to keep the conversation going. Talk to your friends, your family, your kids. Let's all work together to bring childhood back to Earth.